Hello, and welcome to SongWriters Spotlight, the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative Series. I'm Dr. Dan, your host of the show, where we feature Western Mass songwriters who perform their original songs and talk about the art of songwriting. Stay tuned to explore more about music and the tunesmithing that creates it. The songwriters on this episode are a father and son duo who combine excellent lead vocals, tight harmonies, well-developed arrangements, and thoughtful lyrics for a great performance. Here's Rob Adams and Jared Fiske.
All right. Just a word about this one. This song is called It Don't Change a Thing, and Jared and I decided for today's show that we would each sing one of the other guy's compositions. So this is one of Jared's tunes that I just had to take to be my own. 3, 4, 5. You called me up just the other day. You said you've been thinking about the way you tore me down and didn't do your part, and asked me to trust on the lies in your heart. I'm glad that you called, that you gave me a ring. I'm glad that you're learning, but it don't change a thing. You told me about your new flame. You said he's a drinker, ain't it a shame? Well, he don't really love you, 'cause you won't let him in. I wish that you could, but that don't change a thing. All those years digging, panning for gold, I've learned my lesson 1,000 times o'er, and I'll count the ways it opened my mind, but that river of pain taught me to be kind. Panning for gold, I've learned my lesson 1,000 times o'er, and I'll count the ways it opened my mind, but that river of pain taught me to be kind, taught me to be kind. You called me up just the other day. Said you've been thinking about the old days. I'm glad that you called, that you gave me a ring. I'm glad that you're learning, but it don't change a thing. Oh, I'm glad that you're learning, it don't change a thing.
So this next tune is one that my dad here wrote, and he put it on a record back when I was in high school, and he invited my brother and I to play on that record a little bit, and it was sort of our introduction into making music in the studio, being part of that creative process, which has become a total lifelong passion of mine. And but this is a real pretty one about the first snow of winter, and I always liked it. So thanks, Jeff, for letting me sing this one today.
1, 2.
All the world lies quiet and still under a blanket of white. Summer chairs and yesterday's cares softened, forgotten tonight. Lost in a blanket of white. Tools from the garden are now put away. They finished their chores for the year. Hanging there with them, the cares of the day. Soon enough they'll disappear. Lost in a blanket of white. Lost in a blanket of white. Colors all fading, pain gone from sight. All was a blanket of white. All the world lies quiet and still, shimmering under moonlight, till spring comes again and we forget when all was a blanket of white. Lost in a blanket of white. Lost in a blanket of white. Colors all fading, pain gone from sight. All in a blanket of white. So I remember you wrote this one not too far off the time that you wrote Blanket of White, right? Maybe a couple years after?
Yeah, this one was written later than Blanket of White. Originally, it started out with the idea of thinking about stones. That was the original thought. And from there, I remembered that my brother-in-law, Chad, is a stonemason, so that brought his story to mind. So you'll hear some of that in the song. And it's little mini descriptions of people in different parts of life and how we're all connected anyway. My brother works lasting stone. In his hands it's a living thing. The beauty of his work, made whole by skill and planning. He works to make a living. He works because he can. Something real, something lasting, made with his two hands. Oh, my sister works at home, and her hands, they're a given thing. Holding close the ones she loves, faith and hope are what she brings. Her eyes, they may be weary, the days go on so long, but still she finds the place inside that fills her heart with song. Oh, the hearts and the hands shape the lives we all live. They're the spark of something bigger we all want to give. Oh, the hearts and the hands shape the lives we all live. They're the spark of something bigger we all want to give. And I will share the gift that through Mom and Dad was given me. Here's a song that came to me today. I share it with you gratefully. Now I have made a song, and she has made a home, and he has made a lasting work of heart and hands and stone. And you have made your life, and your life touches mine. Though we may not see the pattern, still we know all life's entwined. For the hearts and the hands and the songs that we sing all come from something bigger that's beyond imagining. The hearts and the hands shape the lives we all live. They're the spark of something bigger we all want to give.
So this next tune we're going to do as I get tuned up here, it's from my pandemic album. A lot of us have them. You know, luckily I had a home studio when I had nothing else to do. And this song is track 2 on that album. The album's called We're Already Gone, and you can find it any old where, you know, Spotify and Apple Music and all those good places. But it's a song that really... I just had a little bit of the hook, this sort of no, 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 no. That's pretty much all I had. But I like the sound of that, so it sort of sat in a drawer for a while until the rest of it sort of just fell in place one day. It goes like this. I move along upon my little track, and it takes me around the pond in a beautifully tight circle I can almost see beyond. Stop arriving, stop fighting, we're all chained to the world. I said no, 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 I can't seem to let it go. At the river there's an apple tree that's grown around the fence, and choking vines tighten quietly in a slow-moving dance. Stop writhing, stop fighting, we're all chained to the world. I said no, 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 I can't seem to let it go. But there's something in the bud, something in the clover, something in the air when the rains are finally over. Maybe on the other side we never know relief. Maybe it's so static that we come here to see. But stop writhing, stop fighting, we're all chained to the world. I said no, 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 no. No, 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 no. I said no, 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 no. I can't seem to let it go.
This next song I wrote years ago. Our family used to love to take hikes together, and we were on Mount Monadnock one time. And Mount Monadnock usually doesn't have a lot of water, but this one day it had a small trickle of water crossing the hiking path. And it just struck me that we were in a beautiful place. And then my wife wrote a poem about it when we got home. And sometime after that, I set it to this music. So this is a co-write with my wife, Mary Ann. It's called Trickle Down Brook. A patch of green, a ray of sunshine, nestled in a shady nook. A spark of water sprays up to me from the trickle-down brook. Weary stones worn by the torrent, passing hikers stop and look. Tired feet feel the shock of icy water from the trickle-down brook. Trickle-down brook, swirling, tumbling, down away, falling, falling, down away. Swirling, tumbling, down away, splash your spirit on me. Place that lowered my defenses, where one day my soul awoke. This place is magic to my senses, the trickle-down brook. Ooh, trickle-down brook, swirling, tumbling, down away, falling, falling, down away. Swirling, tumbling, down away, splash your spirit on me. wash my worries from me. Trickle down, trickle down, trickle down, trickle down, brook. Trickle down. Ooh. Trickle down, brook.
This next song's called Return to Sender. It's a newer tune of mine, and one that kind of came to me, the hook of it came to me in a sort of half awake, half asleep place. And in that dream, someone else was playing it. And I thought, man, wish I wrote that. And I woke up and stole it. So
Stole it from your own
my
subconscious.
own mind, yeah.
Yes.
Say what you want to. I can always stay with the sun and moon and do all the things I can. You would say I won't. You can save your breath. And I saw you, and I saw you. I opened the letter, opened the letter that I wrote to you. Now do all the things you do when you're at home now. Is it right for you? And how did I word it there when I wrote it down with your boyfriend's pen? And I saw you, and I saw you. I saw you. I saw you trying to swap an emerald for a stone. Return to sender, then to borrow or lend her. Return to sender. And I open the letter, open the letter that I wrote to you. Said I open the letter, open the letter that I wrote to you. This is a new one. It's called Ophelia. day I saw you in the wind that waved the leaves. Sky is full of your letters in a language I can't read. For the last time, you reached out amongst the waves, rocks in your pockets like Virginia wolves, hemlock in your veins. Oh, feel ya. I cannot shake you from my mind. It's clear now that you're gone, you are with me all the time. I could not be there with you at the end. I hope where you are now, ends and beginnings are just different points on a circle, not a line. For the last time, you might have called out a name, but you know I hope when you left the room, you weren't troubled by shame. Oh, feel ya. I cannot shake you from my mind. It's clear now that you're gone, you are with me. Oh, feel ya. From my mind, well, it's clear now that you're gone, you're with me all the time. You are with me all the time.
Well, Rob, Jarrett, thank you so much. I really enjoyed your set. The lead vocals were fantastic. The harmonies were lush and gorgeous. And the arrangements, the guitar interplay, I really enjoyed that a lot.
Well, thanks a lot.
You obviously put a lot of work into that. And the lyrics are both thoughtful and moving. I appreciated that very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
So when did you begin this songwriting career?
Well, we'll start with me because I'm the senior member of the band.
You started first.
I started first. I was in high school and I wanted to write a song for a girlfriend, and that was my very first song that I wrote. And her reaction was, "Oh, it's better than I thought it would be."
Yeah, I guess I started, I was playing in a garage band, and, in junior high school, suddenly that made you, that was my first little, stepping my toe into what I thought was a little bit cooler than just being that, nerdy kid. And the other guitarist in the band wrote these fantastic songs. He was really a prodigy. And so I just started writing, trying to write as good as he did, as well as he did. And that sort of lit a flame under me to write songs. So that's about when I started off. So about the same age as you, probably.
Yeah, we were both teenagers, but he started in a rock band, and I had my Gibson acoustic guitar, and I was singing my sensitive...
You had a Gibson acoustic?
I had a Gibson acoustic,
Where did that get off to?
I gave it to my sister, and that's the last I know about it.
Oh, okay.
So I got my Martin, and I gave Lily the
Sure.
the Gibson.
Yeah.
And,
So, who are the people who inspired you to, or who are the inspirations for your musical style and lyrics and so on?
well, for me, I'm a baby boomer. The Beatles were a huge influence on me and everybody around me. First bands I played in, though, were more American rock and roll kind of music. The Rascals, for instance, things like that. And a band from Worcester called Orpheus, we used to play some of their songs. So at that point, I was playing electric guitar in a band, but I've always gravitated towards acoustic guitar, and it's still my favorite thing to do, is to just sit down and play a beautiful instrument and make pretty sounds on it. So and the inspirations, other than the Beatles, I was very in love with the first few James Taylor records, and I'm still in love with James Taylor's music all these years later. And that's probably two strongest things, Beatles and James.
Okay.
And I grew up hearing those things, Beatles and James, and then so that got in there early. And then in the 90s, I was just all about the alternative rock, especially the Smashing Pumpkins. And Billy Corgan is this profoundly prolific writer who wrote all kinds of songs, big arena rock songs, and also songs that were just stripped down to an acoustic guitar and a voice that I still think are really fine today. And but then when I got to college, I started hearing artists like Ray LaMontagne and Damien Rice and Elliott Smith. And then more recently, people like Sturgill Simpson and Jason Isbell. Tom Waits, I love all of his records. Yeah, there's really been a broad variety of things, but I guess in terms of what specifically inspires my sound is, bands like Iron and Wine and Jason Isbell and Sturgill Simpson and Margot Price and these sort of people that, the focus is still on the song, and that's those people really do inspire me a lot.
Well, it shows. It definitely does. So, what sort of stirs a song into being? You mentioned a dream that you had.
Yeah, I guess it's different every time, maybe a little bit. A lot of my better songs, I have to say, I woke up with them in my head. They were like a snippet from a dream that I've learned to get to my phone recorder very quickly when I wake up because it'll slip away. But other than those sort of random, like, okay, a window opened and you got a little snippet of something and now you're trying to turn it into a song. I think a lot of writers might be this way, where you sort of go around with this net dragging behind you that's picking up emotional weight and just from all the interactions throughout the day. It's the news, it's the person at the grocery store, and eventually it gets burdensome, and you've got to turn it into a song, just to alleviate that pressure. So sometimes that's how it feels. Like you need to write that song, and there's a real catharsis and release and relief when you write it.
Yeah.
And I feel that he's more the born songwriter, and I'm more the person that I got into a band that we sounded good together and decided it was time to write our own songs. And I had written a handful, but I never thought of myself as a songwriter. And it was only when I joined a group called She's Busy, we made a few records together. And when you make records, you got to write your own material. So we all made a pledge one day. We're all going to show up at the next practice with at least the start of a song. And that was my motivation. Was I thought the band was great. I wanted the band to be successful, and so some of the songs, let's see, did I do any from, no, everything you heard today was from later than that. But that was a whole different way of looking at it. It's like, well, we're good, so we ought to write songs. It wasn't like, I'm a writer. So
yeah, that was another real bar setter for me too, growing up with She's Busy, hearing them all around. That was the name of this trio, and I know you all still play together today, but back then it was this wall of three-part harmony, and the creative energy was just popping off, and people to this day, when they're like, "Oh, Rob's your dad? He played in She's Busy, right?"
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were doing a cool thing.
We had a good regional following, and we were based out of the Worcester area and played around the Northeast. And it was exciting, and it opened up the idea to me that I might continue to be a songwriter, because I just hadn't really given it a whole lot of thought.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not something that occurs to everyone, no.
No.
To be sure. So what are your favorite topics?
For writing?
Yes.
Existential dread, the big questions. I used to be really, and I didn't do it on purpose, but I would end up several steps removed from whatever I was really talking about. I could wax philosophical or be poetic, and actually recently I've been trying to strip some of that away, and I recently read Mary Gaucher's book about songwriting, and she really, she tasks writers with really stripping away any artifice, any politeness, to really get to that core. What are you really trying to say, kind of thing. So I would say, whatever. Sometimes it's a story. Sometimes you're thinking, or you have a friend who's going through it, and you swap the narrative around a little bit. You find a parallel story that evokes the same emotions, and there's ways to tell stories without being too direct with people that you might actually know. And heartbreak.
Yeah, heartbreak will do it.
Heartbreak's great for writing. I'm very happily married now, so I don't write as many songs as I used to.
But one of the songs from the She's Busy era came from an argument within the band, and it was quite upsetting to us all. And my wife started to write a poem based on how I'd come home to her and say, "Oh, it was such a rough day at the band and everything." And I was pretty anxious about the whole thing, and I needed some way to let go of it. And so she wrote a song whose main part is release. Oh, sweet release, take from me the pain and doubt. And then I set it to music.
Right, and you changed it around, though, so that you didn't make it about the band, you made it about
Right, it turned into a song that anybody could have thought was about a couple having a bad argument. And in fact, years ago, we were playing with a bass player in the band, and I said, "Yeah, remember when we wrote Release about the band?" And he went, "That song's about the band?"
Yeah. And Lisa sang that one too,
yes.
right?
Lisa is just a wonderful singer. Lisa Wilson Brumby. She and her sister Selena were the two other members of this trio. And when I wrote Release, she asked me if she might sing the lead vocal on it. And she's a great singer, so I said yes. It's like when I asked him, "Can I sing your song?" He said, "Yeah, you can have it."
Yeah, hey, I was glad. I've been waiting for you to want to cover one of mine for a while. So.
So what about your writing process? You've described some of it. How you do a lot of editing in your work?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. You too?
Oh, yeah, I edit like crazy. I'm still, there was a song that we play in a band. We play in a band called The Casters. And I had a song called Ariana that I've been playing back since probably 2015. No, before then, more like 2010.
Okay.
And it never felt right. There's that little feeling like, like a line doesn't, it doesn't sit quite right with you. There's something about it that's not quite there. It used to be a love song, and all it needed to happen to it to finish it was to make it a little more bitter, a little more ambiguous. And but I mean, that was a song that I was writing for 10 years, and I kept messing with it. Now I think it's done. But yeah.
And in the band, my role, I don't have to write the material, which I find to be a relief. Okay, because I don't wake up in the morning saying I'm a writer. I say no, I'm a guitar player and a singer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you write parts on the guitar.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He writes phenomenal parts
I
on the
love
guitar.
that part. I don't have to bring the song to the band. But within the band, there's 2 rhythm guitar players, and then there's me, and I have to invent parts that serve the song, and that's a joy.
Yeah.
And it's creative work. It's writing. You're coming up with something that wasn't there, but it's not like. I feel a big responsibility when you ask me to write a real song all the way to the beginning to the end.
Yeah. When he moved out to Charlemont, and the Castors have been together for like 8 years, and we tried it without him for a little bit because he's so far away. We did a few gigs, and what we discovered was that these guitar parts that he wrote were so integral to the songs that it just we couldn't be the Castors without Rob's guitar parts. And he really does have a gift for part writing, coming up with not just a part, because anybody can write a part to a song, but sort of like George Harrison, he always wrote the right part, I think that you have that same ability.
Yeah, and it's a joy. There's a place where I can take my talents and make something good with them, and that's just a joy.
Yeah. And then you borrow from the lyrics from your wife and from others.
Yes,
yeah.
my wife
Nice.
is a frequent collaborator, and the other things, as far as like you said, where does the stuff come from? I wrote a song that was based on being on the road with the band, and we pulled into a diner, and it was like going back in time. It was one of those 50s era diners with black and white linoleum floor and a big monstrous Wurlitzer jukebox. It had all these things that felt not at all like, this was in the 90s, and it felt like we'd gone back to the 50s. And so I wrote a song about that. The place was called Vinnie Bink's Classic American Diner, so I wrote a song about Vinnie Bink's. And Trickle Down Brook was from a real experience. Another time I said something in conversation, and Marianne said, that's the beginning of a song. And so I took her word for it, and I completed the song. So, but yes, she's a big part of what gets me to finish what I start.
Okay. Yeah. So, do you have any suggestions for other songwriters? You obviously point out that there's a lot of value in collaboration at a whole bunch of levels. Any other thoughts for other songwriters when they think about it?
I think the biggest thing, well, it depends. If you're right at the beginning, sometimes you just need to learn the form of a song, because it seems like magic. So just to learn, study some songs that you enjoy, and once you realize that it's just first chorus, bridge, chorus, out, even that's a great place to start. But once you have that, just write a lot. Don't expect that, that first thing that you write is going to be brilliant. Just write and write and write and write, because I don't play any of the first 20 songs that I wrote, like those are off, well, they're nowheres where they and I would say probably the last thing a songwriter should be worried about is being polite or exercising discretion. Like, if you're gonna approach this creative process honestly, you better say what you mean. It's going to be a lot more interesting that way.
Yeah. And I would just say that, taking my own writing experience is, if you've written some stuff that other people say are good songs, stop getting in your own way. I've just described to you how I don't think of myself as a writer. Well, I can write, so maybe I need to get out of my own way. And I would say to other writers who are self-conscious, which I guess is part of what's going on with me, is just let go of that a little bit and just go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah, have a few drinks, get a comp book and a nice pen. I find that a nice pen is, I just love the feel of a good Pilot V-ball pen. Like, or a Sharpie and a big piece of white paper. The medium can matter, and I've also written songs on my keyboard or whatever, or even on my phone, but. Sometimes it's nice to have sort of dedicated supplies, give a little specialness to the experience. But also just, wait for that little spark, to set you off. And then it's that, it's the old, like, songs, or any creative process is like 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration, or I've heard it said a bunch of different ways, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. You wait for that little spark that's like, oh, there's something there, but then you gotta chase it down, and you gotta wrestle it, and you gotta say, oh, you know what, that verse is just filler. I'm gonna start over on that verse. What am I really trying to say? What is this song really about? What am I really trying to convey?
Yeah, and sometimes the writer doesn't even know himself what it's about until well into it. They have a thing that's got them going, but they can't put their finger on it. This is not from our own writing, but I went to see James Taylor one time, and he does a song called "The Frozen Man," and he wrote it about a corpse that was preserved in the ice for a long time, and it was written up in the National Geographic. And that's what he thought he was writing about. But when I saw him in concert, he said, it took me years to realize I was writing about my dad.
Yeah.
Sounds a little rough, but yeah, we don't always know the underlying things that we're saying when we're being creative.
I see. Okay. Anything else you want to add for our audience or the world? Yeah.
I would say that for most people is you need to play the songs in front of an audience, so go to an open mic or something. Because music is meant to be shared with other people, and I know at this point people can do it all online. You can post a YouTube thing of yourself. But that thing that happens when you're in front of an audience is invaluable for giving you some feedback about your stuff.
There's something really just nourishing about going to those places. And songwriting isn't a meritocracy necessarily. That is to say, somebody that you see who's written a song at the local open mic, you'd be surprised. Some of these songs are really lovely and really brilliant. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get famous. So there's a lot of beautiful art right out there in your neighborhood. And it's worth taking note, going out there, hearing it. There's an absence of that sort of nourishing enjoyment of art within even a very small group of people. It doesn't need to be a lot, but you get out there into a place where people are there to appreciate it, and the whole room just sort of vibrates at a different level, than other places. It's special, and it's something that we need to make sure we hang on to. I think it's important.
And you might meet another musician who you want to collaborate with too. It's another one of the benefits of going out and playing in front of other people. You might meet somebody who goes, oh, I really like your writing. Would you like to co-write something?
Cool. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your very thoughtful ideas about songwriting and, of course, the music you shared with us. Really terrific. So
Thanks.
Let me thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for watching our show. I would like to acknowledge the support of the Western Mass Songwriters Collaborative, promoting the original music scene in Western Massachusetts. If you want to learn more about the WMSC, go to their Facebook page. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Dan. I hope you'll tune in again for the show that puts a spotlight on songwriters.